Yeah.
Ahead on WeatherScope, today's forecast for weather across the nation. A complete look coming up on WeatherScope right after your local forecast. This is your local forecast. Weather information you can plan on, only on the Weather Channel. This is WeatherScope.
And this edition of WeatherScope is sponsored by the newest soups from Campbell's. Vacuum sealed in glass jars to lock in the fresh taste. And a good Wednesday morning to you. You're watching the Weather Channel. This is Mark Mancuso, and I'm Cheryl Lemke. And it's going to be a tough morning commute across the Northeast. We're dealing with some ice, some rain, and some snow, making it quite challenging this morning.
Yeah, it certainly is. But in contrast, in the Midwest yesterday, we had all that snow and ice. Things are very quiet.
I'm sure a lot of folks will be busy shoveling today, getting all that snow out. We had over a foot of snow for parts of South Dakota and Nebraska yesterday. Really hard hit.
I know. So a lot of people are saying, hey, winter's not over yet, and believe you me, it certainly isn't, especially as we head into next week. Let's take a look at this morning's weather. That storm in the Northeast, all that sloppy weather, the challenging driving, as Cheryl put it, and it's swirling its way across the southeastern and Great Lakes here. You can see it on the vapor. There it goes. Along the coast, here it is, the conveyor belt of moisture. That's moving right up across northeast Virginia and into New England, where it's precipitating heavily. And then as we get a brief break behind our storm, look what we have here. Pretty hefty flow coming from the southwest, some tropical moisture flooding into the southwest here, waiting for these little swirls or chunks of energy or low pressures in the west. So as this energy in the west drops down to the south, this subtropical moisture is here waiting for it. And as pressures fall here in the southern Rockies, Gulf moisture will make a return. So that's why we're saying as one storm moves out, another one getting ready to move on in. And oh, by the way, where's the Arctic air? It's not down here in the lower 48. It's still way up to the north. We don't see any signs of it yet in the lower 48 states. But we do have a pretty decent cool shot of air coming down behind this front. Air not brutally cold, but it is a refreshing change as we go from spring to late winter, and the air does dry out some. So if you don't like that real humid air, You're getting a little bit of a break here across Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi. Winds still a little bit brisk around the Great Lakes, around Buffalo and over towards Erie here and up towards Sault Ste. Marie and Alpena. Winds have blown pretty good. So this, as the air cools, you get a little chill in the air. Here you can see the swirl with our low pressure now heading its way across southern Ontario. That's bringing a little light snow into the Niagara frontier. No big problems anticipated. Just a little light snow in the air, Niagara Falls and Buffalo. Off to the east coast, there's your conveyor belt of moisture. Still some pretty heavy rains from Maryland's eastern shore right on up to southeast Massachusetts. Raining pretty hard on the coast of Maine up to Portland. Then just north of here, we have freezing rain giving way to snow. Still snowing pretty hard northeast Vermont, far northern New Hampshire, and in the mountains of Maine. But a very warm, moist air has been rocketing up from the south. So we've seen a changeover even at Montpelier the last hour as we went from bursts of snow over to some freezing rain. So kind of like the whole kitchen sink being thrown at you, but cold air is still kind of stuck in some of these valleys here. So please do exercise caution as the cold air just continues to drain down through these river valleys, especially the Connecticut River Valley. Last time I checked, it was 33 degrees in Hartford, Connecticut. So that just shows you how that cold air is hanging tough. Around Albany, we've had problems with freezing rain and sleet around the Capital District and up towards Lake George and Saratoga. Pretty icy this morning, so please exercise caution if you're headed up the old Northway. Now, as we take a look at the radar in closer detail, you can see the heavy rain now easing its way southeastward through Plymouth and down through Wareham, Mass, and bearing down on the Cape Cod Canal. And precipitation tapers off a little bit. Then you see another burst of heavier rain here moving into Worcester County, where we've had some freezing rain this morning. Last time I checked, it was 30 at Worcester. So if you're planning a trip up Route 2, please be very careful. Untreated spots there could be icy, especially bridges and overpasses. Now, around the Big Apple, rain did taper off for a little bit, but now it's starting to pick up again, especially as you head north of town up towards Hastings on the Hudson, raining pretty hard around Livingston, New Jersey. Then you see the rains pretty hard around Philadelphia and Yardley and also around Warminster, and then headed south around Baltimore and D.C. We do see the rain tapering off and slipping its way off to the east. But it's still raining pretty hard in Dover, Delaware. So soggy conditions for your early morning ride up the East Coast. So I-95 will be a windshield wiper, white knuckle ride the whole way from about D.C. up into Portland, Maine. As we get you down to the south, just a pathetic looking line of showers. That's all that remains on the front. Later today, there could be a stray shower thunderstorm with it. But the big story here is that we're sweeping out the very warm, humid air out ahead of it, and we're replacing it with more winter-like air, cooler and drier, but nothing brutally cold, nothing you can't handle. Rain in Atlanta is long gone. Finally, a couple of dry days.
Now, knowing what dogs do for you, wouldn't it be nice to do the same for them? You can, by feeding your dog Iams every day. It's more nutritious because its quality ingredients are more digestible. Iams dog food, good for life. From the Iams Company.
Ahead on WeatherScope, today's forecast for weather across the nation. A complete look coming up on WeatherScope right after your local forecast. This is your local forecast. Weather information you can plan on, only on the Weather Channel. WeatherScope.
Well, getting out and about this morning will be a challenge over the Northeast as we wake up to locally heavy rain, snow, freezing rain, and sleet in parts of New England. Good morning. I'm Vivian Brown.
That about covers it, doesn't it? And I'm Bruce Edwards. Messy weather is the result of a storm system that brought some snow and rain to the Midwest and the Great Lakes yesterday. Now, residents of Austin, Minnesota were kept quite busy removing snow from cars, sidewalks, and roads yesterday. It snowed all day in the area as a result of that storm moving through, and up to 8 inches of snow was recorded. Well, today Austin will be cloudy. Highs will be in the 20s. That's fairly seasonable, and you continue cleaning the sidewalk. Now, the system yesterday brought some freezing rain to Chicago early in the day, and then it began to mix with some occasional rain later on in the day. And then by evening, we did even see a few snow flurries blowing around the Windy City, but nothing too substantial to be worried about. Today, Chicago generally cloudy, readings in the 30s. Don't discount a light flurry or perhaps a little sleet pellet because the wind's pretty frisky coming once again out of the northwest. Now, as we take a look at the satellite picture, there's the storm system. The center of it's moving up into southern Ontario now. And you see most all the energy is bowing well out ahead of it into New England. Really from the mid-Atlantic states down, once you get into North Carolina, there's not much action going on along with the front. We can see where it is with the clouds, but again, not a lot going on. Still wrapping around the low-pressure system. We're getting a little bit of snow around Marquette and even a few sleet pellets around Peru, Indiana, and in towards Indianapolis, seeing some snowflakes. Same around Louisville and Fort Knox. Not enough